Back in February of 2023, General Motors told owners of its electric cars that it is not responsible for fast charging at non-approved public stations. What exactly does General Motors mean by non-approved or approved public stations? Well, it's very important for you to know this, because if you don't charge your GM EV at an approved General Motors charging station, then it does not get covered by General Motors warranty. I've never heard of a manufacturer doing this before. This is the first I've heard. General Motors seems to be covering itself if there is a failure with your electric car. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking. Thank you for tuning in. Chevrolet is still in the process of recalling every single Chevy Bolt and Chevy Bolt EUV that it sold between 2017 and 2022. It hasn't finished yet. I know this recall has been going on now for well over a year, but it will go on for at least another year from what I've been told. Only about just over half of the EVs sold during that 5-year time period have actually been replaced and had their batteries fixed. And this was due to an internal issue that resulted in some fires in these cars. And it's worth pointing out, it seems like General Motors has taken all the hit here, all the negative press. It's not fair. It's not fair at all. I have to say, why is it the Hyundai Kona got a free pass on this? Now, just as many Hyundai Konas were actually recalled, nearly as many Konas worldwide for the same problem with pretty much the same battery pack. For some reason, nobody talks about them. Anyway, for one owner, that recall process has caused some pretty significant issues. The owner says that after getting the new battery pack in his Chevy Bolt, his 2021 Bolt EV no longer supports DC fast charging. Now, the owner has taken it back to a dealer at least twice, and the technicians at General Motors dealer say that the chargers he are using are the problem. It's not the car, it's the chargers. The owner went into a Chevy Bolt EV owners Facebook group, posted in that group, of course, as you do when you're annoyed, you're frustrated, you want to get a result, and he wanted to find a solution, which sort of did, sort of didn't. GM's social media team said this: after discussing the situation, the dealership informed us that after diagnosing the vehicle, they determined that the vehicle works when using a GM-approved charger at both your home and at a certified GM dealership. Please know, as this situation is only happening when attempting to use public chargers, GM is not responsible for charging concerns when using non-GM approved public charging stations. This seems a bit weird, because are they telling him he can only fast charge his car at a General Motors dealership? Because first, to begin with, there's not many General Motors dealerships in the US that actually have charging stations. And that's not really going to work if you're an EV owner, be able to only charge at a GM car dealership, if it happens to be one of the rare ones with fast chargers. Now, they're all going to install them eventually, and eventually General Motors say they'll have more than 30,000 fast chargers all over the US, but we're years away from that happening. Now, obviously, this wasn't what the owner wanted to hear. He claimed to have tested the Bolt on 3 brands of chargers from 5 different locations. These included charging points at Electrify America and EVgo, a company that General Motors has a partnership with. Now, you would think that GM would actually approve EVgo's fast chargers if they have a partnership with EVgo. I'm a bit baffled by this. Before the battery recall, the owner reported using a DC fast charger every week for 2 years with his pre-recall GM Chevy Bolt. The alleged problem only started after the repair. So this is not an inexperienced electric car owner, clearly. Inside EVs says, for people unfamiliar with these systems, an EV doesn't use its onboard charger when using DC. The direct current goes straight to the battery. For level 1 or 2 home charging, the electricity will flow through the onboard tech. In the Facebook group discussion thread, he says the dealer does not have any DC fast chargers for testing his reported problem with the Bolt. So basically he's saying General Motors are lying because there's no way for them to test the fast charging capability at their dealership because the dealership didn't even have fast chargers installed to begin with. This all sounds a bit weird. Now this means that one system on his car could be functional and the other one could be broken. But if GM don't have at that dealership the ability to actually test the car using a DC fast charger, then how on earth do they know it actually works? The social media team clearly just assumed that they had done this without fact checking whether or not this had happened. It sounds to me like GM is maybe doing the wrong thing here. I do have a few American friends who have said that they've had similar issues with General Motors, not with the Bolt, with other GM cars. Have you had an issue like this with GM? Let me know in the comments. At this time, it's not clear whether technicians tried taking the vehicle to a DC fast charging site for testing. Doesn't sound like they did though. Now GM has said, we're looking into this, we'll let you know what we discover, and this was their response. GM aggregates public charging locations into mobile apps for each vehicle brand. GM does not certify individual charging stations nor verify charger operations on a real-time basis, but relies on a combination of industry standards, independent safety certifications obtained by charging hardware manufacturers, i.e. UL, and our ongoing interoperability testing with charge station operators to ensure a positive customer experience. Doesn't sound positive to me. The advisor misspoke in this case, and our customer care team is in contact with the customer. Pretty good example of the squeaky wheel getting the grease. This dude had to go and make a big noise about it. Basically, this story had to be talked about by big websites for GM to say, sorry, mate, we think maybe you do have a faulty product. We didn't really test it. By the way, probably a good recommendation for this social media team to not actually make these comments unless they know the truth behind what actually happened. That's my suggestion. Now, the other challenge that I have here is, how will these GM dealerships actually check these kinds of issues if they don't have DC fast chargers installed? You can see why Ford is forcing its car dealers to install DC fast chargers. I think Ford should help subsidize the price. You can see why $1.2 million US is a lot of money, but I can see where Ford are coming from in saying that that's necessary. If you want to see my video about that, by the way, and how that's Ford's attempt to get rid of it, a lot of dealerships, you can see why they're doing it, but it's a bit crazy. I'll put a link in the description to the video I made about that. What I want to know now is, though, what are your thoughts on this? If this happened to this dude, has it happened to you? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching.